And we know the most important number is that they have expelled only one. So we're calling on the minister to actually get to work. There have always been conflicts abroad, and rarely have we seen them spill into our streets the way that we have since this Liberal government has been in power. We now know from the Iranian community right across the country, from many others, that there are hundreds of IRGC agents presently on Canadian soil, using Canada as a safe haven to organize and to fundraise and to terrorize diaspora communities right here at home. We have seen now critics of the Iranian regime from out west, an investigation now being treated as a homicide, somebody who is critical of that regime. We see constantly, and particularly as an MP from a region who represents many in that community, on a weekly basis, those calls coming into our office, informing MPs and at all levels of government, including authorities, that they are terrified of living within their own communities. The hundreds of agents that are here today live in Canada with complete impunity, and we have a Liberal government that has done absolutely nothing to stop it. We've seen violence against businesses, gunshots into Iranian activist businesses. We've seen terrorism in the Jewish community. We now are amongst nations that lead the world in attacks against Jewish institutions. Today we are calling on the government to table a plan to get rid of these terrorists that are on Canadian soil.
Thank you. Earlier this week, on Monday, at the Citizenship and Immigration Committee, we had government officials in front of us talking about just giving, frankly, abysmal answers on the lack of action from the federal government and their capacity to keep Canada's streets safe by both preventing Iranian regime officials from entering Canada and then also taking action to deport senior Iranian officials after the CBSA has identified them. Just a couple of things before we get into the rationale for why we're calling on the Liberal government this week to table a plan within a week to do a variety of different actions. You know, we just had the Public Safety Minister come out here and sort of play bingo with the number of suspected Iranian regime officials that are in Canada. Like that sends a message of a lack of seriousness and a lack of safety to, as my colleague mentioned, many different communities across the country about both the government's willingness and ability to keep them safe. So today the Conservatives are calling upon the Liberals to table a plan within 1 week to do the following: urgently enforce deportation orders for Iranian regime officials and block Iranian regime officials involved in terrorism or crimes against the Iranian people from seeking safe haven in Canada. Disrupt efforts in Canada to launder money and finance the regime's terrorist activities. Coordinate Canada's sanctions on the Iranian regime to ensure effective compliance. Evaluate Canada's terrorism threat level, which has remained unchanged since 2014. Identify any gaps in Canada's national security legislation which may be exploited by regime agents. Finally, complete the establishment of Canada's Foreign Influence Registry and stop approving any refugee claims without an in-person interview. This builds upon action that we called for in a motion that we plan to table at committee on Monday. We are going to continue to push the government to pay more than lip service on these items, and we do expect the government to respond to our call for a plan within the week.
It's thought to be like a bloc Liberal kind of split of a riding. Are the Conservatives doing anything different in that riding to try and stop a majority from happening?
Actually, we have are you talking about Turban?
Yeah.
Yes, we have our candidate been named yesterday. It's Adrienne Charles, and she's there to knock on doors, to to tell the people of Terrebonne that we have a good message for them, the message of Pierre Poilievre and the Conservative team. So actually, we're there to fight for that election. That's it.
Will you be funneling, for example, more money into Terrebonne? Like I know that there's sort of a national funding cap. Will you be funding more money into Terrebonne in order to stop a Liberal majority from happening?
We don't have to stop or to do whatever for the Bloc or the Liberals. Actually, we're doing our own campaign.
Just a reminder, gang, smash the like, hit subscribe. We work really hard at this stuff. Let's get back to the video.
We have a candidate there, and we have 3 by-elections anyway, so we have to fight everywhere to win. Thank you.
Madame Lanstman, est-ce que vous avez une chance de remporter une des 2 circonscriptions pour la partielle?
Look, we run Conservative candidates in every election to give voters the opportunity to choose an MP that will represent them in the House, to represent a riding where we can have more affordable food, we can have affordable homes, we can build a resilient Canada that stands on our own 2 feet, that is strong at home and unbreakable abroad. We're very proud of the candidates that we'll be fielding in the election, and we look forward to them connecting with as many voters as they can to send that Conservative for the Conservative message to get out to as many people as possible.
We heard from the Public Safety Minister today on the 700 IRGC members number. He's disputing the number, though he's not quite telling us what the government's number is. He does say that 700 is a larger number that includes entities and family members of IRGC members. What do you make of that?
Look, we have heard for a long time in this country from human rights groups in the Iranian community, which was then put forward and verified by different media. If the number isn't 700, then the minister ought to tell Canadians, and we need to know, all Canadians need to know what that number is. We know that the minister was talking about 28 inadmissible. We also know that there's 239 people who have had their visas revoked, making them inadmissible. And we know the most important number is that they have expelled only 1. So we're calling on the minister to actually get to work. That number of 239 was actually from his own department, the department that he controls, and he's failed to expel Iranian regime activists from this country. We're calling on him to table a plan within a week in this House of Commons to tell Canadians how he's going to get rid of the terrorists that are terrifying our communities.
Can I add to that as well, too? As it relates to immigration proceedings, what we've seen happen over the last several years is that people who have been, non-citizens who have been involved in very senior activities for the Iranian regime. So, for example, there was a case where I believe there was a man who was involved in running a Iranian regime-sponsored propaganda newspaper. He also held senior positions within the Friday Imams Council, and also held a senior position in the Supreme Leader's UAE office. He argued that he shouldn't be removed from Canada because he wasn't enough of a senior official. This is why at our Immigration Committee and in our plan today, we're saying that the law needs to be reviewed so that immigration processes reflect the spirit of the law, right? I would argue that that person is a senior official. So part of my question would be, on top of what my colleague said, well, if the number is not 700, that's been verified in media reports, then what is it? But also, what are you constituting as what is the minister constituting as a senior official? So this is the question that you ask is directly related to some of the elements of our plan as well, too. And it's that lack of clarity that is, I think, contributing to a sense of fear and a sense of concern in many communities in Canada, certainly in the Persian community. We're hearing that from colleagues who have significant Persian communities within their ridings. And this is a concrete step that I think that at this juncture, the government has to take to clarify. And I want to be really clear about something too. We're not talking about somebody who was conscripted into the IRGC sort of against their will. We're talking about people who were active and willing participants and profited off of the regime's activities at a senior level, human rights abusers that have no legal reason to be in the country. Thanks.
All right. Thanks for watching, gang. Smash the like, hit subscribe. Catch you in the next video. Cheers for now.